Hi, I'm Ashy and this is Crafty with Ashy. This channel is all about inspiring you to get creative and just for personal expression. For me, that usually looks like painting, crocheting, or baking. So today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite hobbies, crocheting. So when people pick up a new hobby, oftentimes they want to know how much it's going to cost them, right? Is this going to be an expensive hobby? Is this a big investment? So I kind of look at golf, which I also do, as an example, right? Golfing is a huge initial investment. You have to buy the clubs, you have to buy the balls, you have to, go out and pay to hit balls and learn, and it adds up so quickly. And then long term, it's costly too because you're replacing things, you are paying every single time you go out and play or buying memberships, right? So it adds up. Well, so let's look at crocheting, right? So crocheting is a lot different. The initial costs really are not bad at all. So you really only need crochet hook and yarn to start, right? So you can get a basic crochet hook. You can get a set of these, like 6 to 8 different hooks for around 10 bucks. So if you go for basic crochet hooks, really cheap, right? You can get one for a couple bucks and a whole set for about 10 bucks. So not bad at all. And if you're just starting, a skein of yarn, not too expensive. You can get a skein of yarn for under $5, right? Depending where you look and the type of yarn. The other kind of startup costs are some other materials that you will probably want at some point. You'll definitely need scissors. Most people already have scissors in their home, so not a huge cost, right? But you could spend $150 on some fancy scissors if you wanted. I don't recommend that. So another one is yarn needles. So I got these yarn needles. Again, not very expensive. This pack retails for $2.59, right? So super cheap. I used a coupon on this also because it was the only thing I was buying that day when I went to Hobby Lobby, and I got it for, $1.50 after tax. So super cheap, right? Some stitch markers are another thing you might want to get, but I use bobby pins. I already have them in my home, no cost, right? You might want to get a crochet tote or like a crochet hook holder. This is kind of like a pencil case style. But even if you add up all of those costs, you're looking at $30 or less really to start crocheting. So initial costs, very, very cheap. The real investment when it comes to crocheting is the yarn. So a single skein of yarn is not that much money, under $5. But every project takes, a certain amount of yarn. And then if you're keeping your projects, you can't reuse that yarn. So that's your investment, right? You're constantly buying new yarn to make new projects. It's consumable. You can also crochet with thread. Either way, same thing. It's consumable. You aren't reusing it for your projects. So I'm going to kind of break this down by type of project, because my answer to the question of is crocheting expensive is yes, crocheting is pretty expensive. And the reason I say that is when I break down the costs for different types of projects, it kind of can feel a little bit breathtaking at times. So let's start with kind of the biggest one, okay? And I'll show you the tables for these two. So here's the table for an Afghan, right? So we can have anywhere from a throw size to a king size. And I looked at a bunch of different patterns for this and kind of averaged the amount of yarn used for these patterns. All of these prices are based on a size or weight 4 yarn, which is like a medium weight, and these are non-specialty yarns. So if you're looking for something that is a specialty yarn or like organic yarn, for example, you're actually going to be spending even more than what I'm saying on here. But if you look at it, right, so a throw size, you're going to use about 2,000 yards of yarn. To purchase that much yarn, it's going to take you anywhere from $40 to $60. If you go and purchase a throw blanket at the store, of course, it's not homemade, right? If you go and purchase a throw blanket, it is not going to cost you $50 for kind of a basic throw blanket, right? You can spend however much you want on throw blankets, and there are ones that are hundreds of dollars, right? But for a typical throw blanket, you're not going to be spending that much money. Now, again, if we look at the king size, right, we go on the biggest Afghan size, 4,000 yards of yarn, and that's going to cost you anywhere between $80 and $120. A king size blanket, just a typical blanket, you can obviously get for less than that, right? So let's kind of move on. Now I'm going to show you the baby blankets. So for baby blankets, they also vary in size, right? You can have like a little lovey or security blanket, or you can go kind of all the way up to a crib size blanket. This is maybe what you would consider a little bit more reasonable, right? So for a lovey or security type blanket, you might only spend, about $7 to $10 for that. Whereas a crib blanket, maybe, between $28 and $42. So that's a little bit probably more in line with what you would pay for a commercial product in those sizes. You could probably find some cheaper than that, but there's definitely going to be some more expensive than that as well. So baby blankets may be a little bit more, like I said, reasonable in price. Now, if you look at like women's clothing, right? So sweaters, obviously commercially wide range of prices for a woman's sweater, but you can expect if you're crocheting it to spend anywhere from about $25 to about $65, kind of depending on the size of the sweater that you're making. And that's a pretty big range, number one, but $60, $65 for a sweater, that gets pretty pricey if you're making that. And obviously there are women that spend more than that in the store too, but if you're looking at just comparing to kind of a typical sweater, $65, that can be pretty pricey. That $25, okay, that may be a little more similar, but just kind of depends on the size of the sweater. Also though, for sweaters, right, you might want to choose one of those specialty yarns, and if you do, because you want it to be softer, or you want it to be textured differently or anything like that, you expect to spend even more money than that on your yarn. For kind of the more reasonable projects, choose something like a beanie or a scarf. So for beanies, for a baby hat, you're using very little yarn for a baby beanie, and you're not using anywhere near a whole skein of yarn. So really you can make a baby beanie for about $1 or $1.50. And for an adult size, it's only going to be about $5 to $7.50. So again, that's pretty good. That's pretty good for pricing if we're comparing it to kind of store commercial products. With scarves, depending on the type, kind of the airiness, right? If it's more of a lacy scarf or more of a dense warm scarf, depending how long it is also, but you can expect to spend anywhere from about $4 for really light kind of airy cowls, all the way up to maybe about $25 for a standard long, wraparound scarf. And this really is pretty comparable, or even a little bit better maybe than prices in the store for scarves. So basically, the smaller items, they're going to take less yarn, and so they're going to be cheaper. Bigger items are going to take more yarn, they're going to cost more. So really, if you look at all those breakdowns though, overall, crocheting is pretty expensive. This is kind of why it can be really hard to make money if you're selling your crochet, because you're investing in that yarn, and then on top of that, you're investing the time into making these products, right? You don't want to just get paid your materials, you have to be getting paid for your time too, right? And that's how you really earn a living, right? So for me, I get paid more hourly in my full-time job than I could ever make crocheting, right? I cannot charge that much for my crochet projects. They just take me way too long, and the cost of the yarn is too much. So I would never sell my crochet to try to earn money or earn a living. Now, there are people that do it successfully, so I'm not saying that it's impossible, but for me, it doesn't make sense. The reason that I crochet is because it's a hobby. It's just that, right? I am not looking to make money on my crocheting. It's going to cost me money. That's what hobbies do. Hobbies cost you money. But I love crocheting, and I love being able to make a backpack for my friend and give it to her for her birthday and just know that it's personalized for her, it's one of a kind. She's gonna know that I put the effort in and made something that I knew that she would love. And I love being able to show people that I care that way. Another thing that I've been able to do is I crocheted like princess dresses for both of my daughter's first birthdays for their cake smash pictures. Now, if you're interested in one of those patterns, check out here. I actually have a tutorial for my second daughter's cake smash dress that I made, so check that out if you're interested. But I love that I have those pictures, number one, and I have the dresses that I can give to them when they're older, and they can keep them and cherish them and know that I made this for them. And, you know, potentially if they have children of their own, they can pass these items down through the family and it kind of becomes an heirloom type item. And I love that part of crocheting. So for me, it's not about the money. It's just about the thought and the care that goes into it, and it's fun. Another reason really is that crocheting has so many scientifically proven benefits, like reducing depression and anxiety. It can help with insomnia. It can help kind of build community, and it also can delay dementia, which is very interesting. It's scientifically proven. They've done a lot of research on it. So the benefits of crocheting truly for me outweigh the costs, right? I know that I'm going to be spending money on this, and that's okay. So I hope that this video didn't scare you off from crocheting. Yes, it's a little bit of expense, but there are ways that you can make it less expensive, and that I do have another video on that. I have a video about my 5 tips for making crochet less expensive, so check that out here if you're interested. But I do hope that you crochet, keep crocheting, learn to crochet, and I hope that this video helped you kind of get an expectation for how much you're going to spend for your crochet videos. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. I'll see you later.